Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to tackle the gender equality and women empowerment, the Unit 7, which was assigned to us. First, we're going to break down the title one by one. According to an article under Women and Gender in Peace Corps Educational Resources, gender equality means that men and women have equal power and equal opportunities for financial independence, education, and personal development. In short, it is an equal power and opportunities for men and women. According to Philippine Commission on Women, as of 2022, gender equality allowed or also used to mean universal equality irrespective of gender, sex, or sexuality. On the other hand, women's empowerment is a fostering a woman's sense of self-worth, her decision-making power, her access to opportunities and resources, her power and control over her own life inside and outside the home, and her ability to affect change. We are authorized, we have the power, and we are entitled as women. We are or we have the privilege. Here are the topics under the gender equality and women empowerment. First, we have the definition and concepts, cover the three models or approaches such as women and development, women and development, and gender and development. Second is feminist perspective, followed by gender equity versus gender equality, and lastly, the legal mandates with two subcategories in terms of international treaties or commitments and national laws and policies. Before we proceed to discuss the different approaches, let's have a brief review with its historical background.
With the emergence of the human rights agenda post-World War II, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights set out the fundamental basis of universal freedoms, equality, and rights based on sex, race, and other social categories in 1948. It is referenced as the principal document that creates a global normative framework such as debates like the 1965 International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. Even after that, over the years, development programs have been criticized for ignoring gender roles. Thus, such models or approaches have emerged that set out to explain how development affects women and men, and why women do not experience development in the same way men do. Women in Development approach highlight the progress of the women productive work as well as recognizing their role in the society. It merely focuses on women's ability and capability to work separately from men. Women in Development approach was replaced by the Gender and Development in 1980. In the early 1970s, the publication of Esther Boserup's book, Women's Role in Economic Development in the 1970s, serves as an eye-opener that a woman can be a part of nation-building and economic development, since they have the potential to lead as a man and show up to everyone that a woman plays a crucial role in our nation. That's why in 1973, when Boserup and other women pointed out that the women's lack of access to the means of participating in economic life and the invisibility that is lack of recognition and data of women's work, Women in Development or WID approach has emerged. The WID approach aims to integrate women into a development process, see the ability of women to workforce, and increase their level of productivity since, in this case, women empowerment arises. The WID approach was adopted by the United Nations in 1975 at the first World Conference on Women held in Mexico. Governments were asked to create national, such as ministries of women, to promote and oversee national efforts to advance women and with units. Moreover, in 1979, the Convention to Eliminate All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or CEDAW, established a critical reference point underscoring the importance of gender equality in development, with an explicit focus on reducing discrimination against women. CEDAW outlined a specific definition of discrimination against women and called for states to protect against gender discrimination and rights violations. However, WID is being criticized for viewing women in isolation and ignoring the relative position to men, and portrays women's productive capacity to recognize women's reproductive responsibilities. Also, they treated women as a homogeneous category. Emerged from a critic of the modernization theory and the WID approach in the second half of 1970s, Women and Development, or WAD approach, arose. The WAD approach aims to empower women by transforming social structure and institution to make development an equitable process for both, since the problem here is an equal social relation between men and women. Additionally, in 1980, the Second World Conference of Women was held in Copenhagen to highlight the importance of improving gender equality, wherein at this conference it was recognized that women were both participants and victims in political struggles. Yet, the WAD approach is being criticized for focusing only on women productive, ignoring the reproductive aspect, and doesn't question the relationship between gender roles. Hence, the shift to Gender and Development, or GAD approach, was developed in the 1980s as an alternative to the Women in Development approach. Caroline Moser and Karen Levy developed the Moser Gender Planning Framework for GAD-oriented development planning in the 1980s. GAD refers to the development perspective and process that is participatory and empowering, equitable, sustainable, respectful of human rights, supportive of self-determination, and actualization of human potentials. GAD aims to ensure that both men and women can participate in and benefit from development in a way that is equitable. Meanwhile, on 1984, another debate on international norm standards was held, the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, or Degrading Treatment or Punishment. And in 1985, a third global conference entitled the Birth of Global Feminism Conference also happened in Nairobi, Kenya, that focuses on advancing women's role in development. On 1993, Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women, or VOW, the first convention with VOW as a rights violation. On 1994, International Conference on Population and Development, or ICPD, focuses on women's reproductive rights and health key to empowerment. At the Fourth United Nations World Conference on Women on 1995, held in Beijing, advanced a political agenda that women's rights be recognized as human rights. Also, gender mainstreaming was first formulated as a transformative strategy to achieve gender equality. And in 1997, the Economic and Social Council adopted a concrete definition of gender mainstreaming as the process of assessing the implications for women and men of any planned action with the ultimate goal, which is to achieve gender equality. As Gender and Development, or GAD, is brought to the Philippines, DENR Administrative Order No. 98 to 15 dated May 27, 1998, which is entitled Partnership of Empowered Men and Women for Sustainable Development. In 2000, the Millennium Declaration, supported by governments across the world, affirmed the importance of women's empowerment and gender equality. When God is in the Philippines, Republic Act No. 9710 or Magna Carta of Women is created on August 14, 2009 that mandates non-discriminatory and pro-gender equality and equity.
The video discusses about the three main development approaches that emerge as a means to address gender equality in women's concern. Credits to the group of Ms. Ang Lao for this organized video presentation. For further details, I will be going to discuss the WID approach or Women in Development. Origin: early 1970s, influenced by the seminal work of Bosseroff and came to use during the United Nations Decade of Women on 1972 to 1985. Theoretical base: liberal feminist, school of thought and modernization theory. The third feminist wave was influenced by Esther Bosseroff of 1970 publication on women's role in economic development. The book sent shockwave to northern development agencies and humanitarian organizations. She states and gave empirical results of how increasingly specialized division of labor associated with development undermines or neglects the value of women's work and status, especially in the developing world. As it explained why women were being deprived an equal share among men in social benefits and economic gains. Bosseroff's book had an influence on making women more visible in development approach as a specific category when addressing women in development. Focused: women are subordinated in the economic framework and they are excluded from market. Upheld for integration of women in development planning. WID or Women in Development sees women problems are due to exclusion of women from development programs. Integration of women in development programs are the solution. It recognizes that women need to be integrated into economic development through legal and administrative support. So what is the problem here? It is the exclusion of women from the mainstream development process. As for strategies, they focuses on equality before law, education increases women's productivity, and income increases women's ability to manage their households. Criticism: did not address gender discrimination, which is the root cause of gender, does not question the existing social structures or explore the nature and sources of women's oppression. WID or Women in Development sees women merely as a unit of analysis and fails to consider the implication race, class, and gender have on women's oppression. So for the critique here, they treated women as homogeneous category.
Everyone, my name is Rosario and my topic is Women and Development. Women and Development Approach, or WAD. The origin of Women and Development is emerged from a critique of the modernization theory and the WID approach in the second half of the 1970s. Pag sinabi nating modernization theory, so ito ay lumitaw mula sa pagpuna ng modernisasyon na teorya. So, ang theoretical base ng women in development is neo-Marxist feminist approach which draws from the dependency theory. So, pag sinabi natin neo-Marxist, ito ay yung eskwelahan ng kaisipan or pananaw ng isang tao. Ang women in development focuses also in women have always been part of development process, therefore integrating women in development is a myth. So, laging kasama ang mga kababaihan sa pag-unlad ng isang lipunan or ang ating sinasabi na society. So, also, women in development accepts women as important economic actors in their societies. Women's work in the public and private domains is central to the maintenance of their societal structures. Tinatanggap din ang mga kababaihan bilang importante na mga aktor sa ekonomiya sa kanilang lipunan na kinabibilangan. Despite of the progress in recent years, women and girls continue to account for 6 out of 10 of the world's poorest. So, women perform 66% of the world's work, produce 50% of the world's food, but earn only 10% of the income and own only one of the property. So only 19% of the world's parliamentarians are women. So 1/3 of all women are subjected to violence, whether in conflict situations or in the home. Also, women in development focus is advocates of this approach say that both the paid and unpaid labor movement is essential to development. So, sinasabi na may bayad man or wala, ang pagtatrabaho ng kababaihan ay importante o nakakatulong sa pag-unlad ng lipunan. Criticism fails to analyze the relationship between patriarchy and women's subordination and oppression. Singular preoccupation with women's productive role assumes that once in international structures become more equitable, women's position would improve. And what does it question the relations between gender roles? So, yung women in development ay hindi nila kine-question kung ano yung relasyon nila sa pagitan ng gender, ng gender roles. Just as development means less income, poverty, or better access to justice, it should also mean fewer gaps in well-being between males and females.
So, good morning everyone. I'm Zarsadias. So, now we will proceed to my report. It is gender and development, or what we call God. Origin as an alternative to the WID and WAD, this approach developed in the 1980s. So, idagdag ko lang po, gender and development looks at the impact of development of both men and women. So, the God approach 1980s attempted to readdress the problem using gender analysis to develop our broader view. This approach concerned with the relationship, the way in which men and women participate in development process rather than focusing on women issues. And gender and development seeks to establish that men and women must participate in development programs to benefit from its equitability. So, it is different from the first two because the first two only on women's issues, but now there is no specific gender or gender na walang specific na pinanindigan, but it talks both sexes, the men and women, on how they can contribute to the development and how to establish themselves in developmental programs or projects. So now God is not concerned with women exclusively, but with the way in which gender relations allots specific roles, responsibility, and expectation between men and women. Therefore, development is all about important changes to relations dealing with gender and equality within the society. So also, one advantage of this gender and development approach is it recognizes the limitation that women can participate but not benefit directly from the development. So God is not concerned with women exclusively, to reiterate that. So gender and development recognize the limitation that women can participate but not benefit from development. And God is not concerned with women exclusively. So God does not go further than other approaches in emphasizing reproductive and productive role of women, and argues that it is the state's responsibility to support the social reproduction role mostly played by women and caring and nurturing children. So, ito yung exclusive gift for women alone. They can conceive a child, which means that they must be offered without most care, because this happening or this circumstance, the conceiving of child is a economic factor, because once na manganak na siya yung babae, then once na magtanda na yung bata, makaka-develop na yung bata ng skills under siya ng certain processes, then this child, it is one of the economic factors na mako-consider siya na one of the economic factors. So, gender and development arising from God analysis or So, gender and development, it treats development as a complex process that is influenced by political, social, and economic factors rather than as a state or stage development. So, arising from God analysis or gender and development is the need of women to recognize or to organize themselves into more effective political voice in order to strengthen their legal and increase the number of women in decision making. Okay, so for them, development is not easy process. It is a complex process wherein there are so many factors that tends to contribute to achieve the desired goal of particular country. So to say, God approach is much more reliable or much more visionary among the three of them, because it doesn't focus on what the first factor. It doesn't focus on only one gender or only one sex. This second, it is visionary in nature because it doesn't only concern with the woman's issues, but both sexes issue. The third one is that is it doesn't only focus establishment for women and or men in development, and doesn't only focus on the developmental process, but it is focuses on the process as a whole in developing and putting care for women and men, for they are considered as an economic factor. That's my point. Ito yung point sagad, like i-readdress niya ang problem using gender analysis approach to develop a broader view. So next, gender and development focus. It is questioned the basis of assigning specific gender rules to different sexes, recognize that patriarchy operates within a cruise class to oppress women, and it talks in terms upsetting the existing power relations in society between men and women, stresses the need for women to organize themselves for a more effective, and the contribution of gender and development. God reject the public-private dichotomy, and women seen as agents of change rather than as passive recipients of development assistance, and it is emphasizes the state's duty to provide social services in promoting women's emancipation. So, thank you po. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat. Okay, done.
Good morning, classmate. My topic is all about feminist perspective. First of all, what do you think about feminists? So let me introduce to you, my dear classmate, what feminist is. Feminist movements have campaigned and continue to campaign for women's rights, including the right to vote, run for public office, work, earn equal pay on property, receive education, enter contracts, have equal rights within marriage and maternity leave. Yung feminist daw, siya yung nangangampanya para sa mga karapatan ng mga kababaihan. Feminism is a range of socio-political movements and ideologies that aim to define and establish the political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. So, yung feminism daw, siya naman yung rights about sa gender equality. Magbigay ako ng example ng feminism. Halimbawa, feminism yung pagbubutuhan, 'di ba? Karamihan ayaw sa mga babaeng presidente kasi daw mahina, madaling matinag, baka masakop ang bansa. Parang ang baba ng pagtingin nila sa mga kababaihan. Din about sa pag-aaral, mga paniniwala ng mga nakakatanda natin na ang lalaki lang ang priority pag-aralin kasi daw sila ang bumubuhay sa pamilya kaya walang karapatan ang babae mag-aral dati. Sa trabaho naman, mga kalalakihan lang ang pwedeng magtrabaho samantalang ang kababaihan ay gagawa lang ng mga gawaing pangbahay at pagbabantay lang ng anak. Nagmula rin pala yung salitang feminist came sa salitang female, that means babae. Proceed na tayo sa feminist perspective. Feminism first emerged as
a critic of traditional sociological theory, saying that sociology didn't acknowledge the experiences of women's feminist scholars argue that sociology studied men, not human beings. So it really only analyzed the male social universe. If women were studied, it was through men's eyes, and this way they argued furthermore that sociology contributed to the subordination and exploitation of women. Ibig sabihin daw, ang feminism daw ay naging tradisyon na simula pag silang natin nakatakda na ang pananaw nila sa mga babae. Nagsimula yan sa pamilya. 'Di ba pag babae ka sa pamilya niyo, bawal ka magbuhat na mabibigat. Mga manggagaan lang ang dapat mong trabaho, di ka pwede lumabas ng bahay paggabi. Kailangan din is matino ka kasi babae ka. Feminist perspective focuses on the significance of gender is understanding and explaining inequalities that exist between men and women.
Good morning everyone, my name is Shaira Ruiz. I'm the reporter for Gender Equity versus Gender Equality. Before I proceed sa gender equality and gender equity, I will discuss first what is gender. Gender, it is culturally and socially constructed difference between men and women that varies from place to place and time to time. Sabi dyan, according po dyan, gender is culturally and socially constructed. Meaning po yan, ang mga gender roles, expectation at behaviors ng isang babae at lalaki ay naituturo at natutunan lang natin sa mga taong nakapalibot sa atin, like our family, friends, o sa ating environment. Ito po ay nabuo sa ating kultura na paniniwala. Halimbawa po, ang mga paniniwala po ng matatanda dati, dapat po yung mga babae, sila pagka sa loob ng bahay, dapat sila yung mag-aalaga sa mga anak nila at nagtatrabaho ng mga gawaing bahay. While yung mga lalaki naman po, sila dapat po yung nagtatrabaho sa labas, or sila po yung nagbibigay ng sila po yung naghahanap buhay. Then, sabi din po yan, that varies from place to place and time to time. Ngunit ito po ay naiiba o nagbabago sa bawat lugar at oras. Ang ibig sabihin po dyan, ang mga gender norms and sex roles at ang ating mga pananaw or tingin at konsepto sa mga kababaihan at kalalakihan ay nag-iiba po ito sa panahon at oras. Kung noon po, ang mga kababaihan po ay ang gawain lang po nila ay mag-alaga at magtrabaho ng mga gawaing bahay. Ngayon po, maaari na din po sila maharap buhay sa labas. Putyang talaga. Sila po na yung nagtatrabaho ngayon at sila na din po yung nagbibigay ng mga pangangailangan sa bahay or mga pang-araw-araw na sustain. While yung mga lalaki po ngayon, kaya na din po nila gawin yung ginagawa ng mga babae. Marunong na din po sila magawa ng mga gawaing bahay, katulad po ng pag-aalaga sa kanilang mga anak or naghuhugas ng plato, naglalaba, ganyan po. Then, proceed po tayo sa gender equality. Gender equality is the state of equal ease of access to resources and opportunities regardless of gender, including economic participation in decision making, and the state of valuing different behaviors, aspirations, needs equally regardless of gender. Sabi po dyan, yung gender equality po, ito po ay may equal na access or lahat po tayo may pantay-pantay na oportunidad. Hindi po ito nakabase sa kasarian ng tao kung ikaw man po ay lalaki o babae. Lahat po ay maaari pong makapagtrabaho or makapasok sa eskwelahan o kabilang po dito yung pagkikipaglahok sa ekonomiya at paggawa ng mga desisyon. Then, may mga layunin din po ang gender equality. Ang layunin niya po ay upang matulungan ang mga kababaihan at kalalakihan ungkol sa pagkapantay-pantay bilang isang mamamayan na mayroong karapatan at pagtingin sa balanse sa ating lipunan. At lahat po tayo ay may karapatan na anuman kasarian at bawat isa. Sinusulong din po ng gender equality ang kahalagahan na matiyak na mayroong patas at may respeto sa anumang uri ng kasarian. Halimbawa po, hindi po tayo nagdi-discriminate kung ano po yung ating nakikita base po sa palabas ng anyo. Ngunit hindi po sa lahat ng pagkakataon na papractice po to dahil po sa ibang bansa, meron pa rin pong nagdi-discriminate or nagkakaroon ng gender inequality. Then, gender equity means fairness of treatment for women and men according to the respective needs. This may be include equal treatment that is different but which is considered equivalent in terms of rights, benefits, obligation, and opportunities. Sa gender equality naman po, ini-emphasize po dito yung hindi po to as in sabi fairness, ito yung pagtrato po ng pagkapantay-pantay. Ang ina-emphasize po nito ay ang pagbibigay po ng oportunidad or mga benefits at obligation po ay nakabase po sa pangangailangan ng babae at lalaki. Makikita po natin dyan sa pictures, sa unang picture po, ina-emphasize po dyan yung gender equality, kung saan po dyan, ang bawat isa po ay binigyan ng same size of boxes, kung saan ina-emphasize ang pagkakapantay-pantay or gender equality. While sa right side po, yung lalaki po ay mas may oportunidad na nakakakita dahil matangkad na po siya. While yung sa left side naman po, kahit binigyan na po na siya ng box, hindi niya pa rin po nakikita or napapanood yung nakikita niya. Then yung sa gender equity naman po, in-emphasize po dyan niya. Hindi na po kailangan ang bawat isa na bigyan ng boxes dahil ito po ay nakabase kung ano po pangangailangan. Diyan po mapapakita yung gender equity. Kaya binigyan po ng 2 boxes yung sa left side while yung sa right side. Kasi naman po, nakikita niya na po yung pinapanood niya. While yung sa left side po, ay kaya siya po kasi yung mas priority na dapat makatanggap ng kung ano man po ang pangangailangan.
Legal mandates. Mandates, a judicial command, are precept issued by a court or magistrates, directing to proper officer to enforce a judgment, sentence, or decree, mandatum, or commission contracts. Some defined a mandate to be a payment of goods without rewards, to be carried from place to place, or have some act performed about them. This seemed more properly an enumeration of the virus search of mandates that are defined of
Go.
para siyang isang kontrata na nagmula sa hukuman o mahestro para ipatupad ang isang hatol o sensya sa isang formal para siyang isang formal na order na nagmula sa superior court. First, that tree should exceed something which should be the matter of contract. Secondly, that it should be done curiously. And thirdly, that the parties should voluntarily intend to enter into the contract. Una, ang dapat mayroon ng isang bagay na kung saan ay usapin ng kontrata. Pangalawa, na dapat ito ay gawin ng walang bayad. At ikatlo, na ang mga partido ay dapat kusang loob na naglalayon na pumasok sa kontrata. The contract of mandate may be dissolved by changing in the state of the parties, as in inter-party become insane or being a woman married before the execution of the mandate. Ang kontrata ay utos na maaaring matunaw sa pamamagitan ng pagbago ng estado ng partido na parang alinmang partido ay magiging hindi pareho o pagkakatulad ng mandato.
International treaties or commitments. What are the main international treaties? The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, the International Convention on the Elimination of all forms of racial discrimination, the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discriminations against women. What are the three international treaties? They are the United Nations Convention on Independent Guarantees and Standby Letters of Credit, Convention on the Use of Electronic Communication, and International Contracts, and the last is the Convention of the Assignment of Receivables and International Trade. What type of law is a treaty? Treaties are binding agreements between nations and become part of international law. Treaties to which the United States is a party also have the force of federal legislation, forming part of what the Constitution calls the supreme law of the land.
Good morning everyone. My name is Jemcy Dayne Gabinete and my topic is all about national laws and policies under the Unit 7, Gender Equality and Women Empowerment. Women are just women, nothing else. So, women did exist but they are powerless and their freedom and rights are always unheard. Maraming taon na yung nakalipas nung hindi pa pinapahalagahan ang opinyon at karapatan ng mga babae. And so, it leads to discrimination and sexual harassments. But then, the law to protect women are implemented to avoid from any form of discrimination. So, the following are the list of laws covering Filipino women's rights in the Philippines. Yung una ay yung Republic Act 7877, the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act. It states that to prevent and eliminate harassment in the workplace by supervisors, managers, co-workers, contractors, vendors, and any other individual. And it's signed by the former President Fidel B. Ramos on year February 1995. And it also states that if a person found guilty of sexual harassment, maaari itong bigyan ng parusang kulong na
not less than 1 month o more than 6 months at multang 10,000 hanggang 20,000 pesos. The next one is the Republic Act 11210, the 105 days expanded maternity leave law. Ito naman ay nilagdaan ni former President Rodrigo Duterte, and the benefits of it is to paid maternity leave credits, and they can extend 30 days without pay. So, granted to sa mga qualified female worker na nagbubuntis, at granted dito sa mga female workers na nasa state of pregnancy or nakunan or emergency termination of pregnancy regardless of frequency. Ang sunod naman yung Republic Act 7882, Assistance for Small-Scale Women Entrepreneurs. So, it's a provision for women na engage sa business at enterprises. Sunod naman yung Republic Act 9262, yung Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children, 2004. It's a serious public health concern with cause at multiple levels of society. Although violence is a threat to everyone, women and children are particularly susceptible to victimization because they often have fewer rights or lack appropriate means protection. So it provides protection and safety for family, especially on women and children sa mga pang-aabuso at iba pang banta or yung mga threats. The next one is the Republic Act 6725, the Prohibition on Discrimination Against Women. So, with the example of it is yung favoritism or yung favoring on sa mga lalaking employee between the female employee. Then, it's yung sikat na Republic Act 9710, yung Magna Carta for Women, that been established on July 8, 2008. Ito yung pagsusulong sa pagkapantay-pantay ng babae at lalaki sa lahat ng bagay. It's an act that addresses on women to provide prenatal leave benefits for female employees in accordance with the Magna Carta of Women. It recognizes women support services for them to enable balance their family obligations, such as their responsibilities to remove discrimination and inequalities, and it was under Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination, or yung under convention siya ng CEDAW. The national law. So what is the national law in the Philippines? Ito yung the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines. It establishes the structure, policies, roles, and duties of the Philippines government. So there are 13 na constitution. Ito yung kino-contain ng constitution ng 1987. The National Territory, Declaration of Principles and State Policies, Bill of Rights, Citizenship, Suffrage, Legislative Department, Executive Department, Judicial Department, Constitutional Commissions, Local Government, Accountability of Public Officers, National Economy and Patronymy, and Social Justice and Human Rights, Education, Science and Technology, Arts, Family, General Provisions, Amendments or Revisions, Transitory. So, under the Article 13 of Social Justice and Human Rights, Section 14, Senate Bill number 398. Ito yung nakabase sa mga women. It states that women can protect working by providing safe and healthful working conditions, taking into account their maternal functions and such facilities and opportunities that will enhance their welfare and enable them to realize their full potential in the service of the nation. Ito naman ay nilagdaan ni Senator Loren Legarda. And additionally, yung Article 2, Section 14, the Declaration of Principles and State. Lastly, ito yung ginastate niya is it recognize the role of women in nation building and shall ensure the fundamental equality before the law of women and men. So, thank you.